Welcome to the channel, US Coins Lab. And before you even think about scrolling past this video, I need you to stop what you're doing right now, because what I'm about to share with you today could genuinely change the way you look at every single penny you've ever held in your hand, every single coin you've ever tossed into a jar or dropped into a fountain without a second thought. Because sitting right there in your pocket, in your couch cushions, in that dusty old change jar on your kitchen counter, there might be something extraordinary, something so rare, so historically significant, so breathtakingly valuable that it has left even the world's most experienced coin collectors absolutely speechless. And today we are diving deep into not just one, but three Lincoln pennies that have stunned the numismatic world. Three ordinary-looking copper coins that carry price tags so enormous they don't even sound real. And our first coin today, the coin that kicks off this incredible journey, is the 2015 Lincoln penny, a coin that on the surface looks like something you wouldn't think twice about, a coin you've probably seen hundreds of times, maybe even spent without a second glance. And yet, certain verified specimens of this coin have been valued by top-tier collectors and auction houses at an absolutely jaw-dropping $56 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $56 million for a penny, a single 1-cent coin that was minted just over a decade ago. And I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? How can a coin that was made in your lifetime, a coin that was circulating in everyday America just 10 years ago, be worth more than most people will earn in an entire lifetime? Well, that's exactly what we're going to uncover today. So do not touch that screen. Do not even think about leaving, because the story behind this 2015 Lincoln penny is one of the most fascinating, most surprising, most unbelievable tales in all of American numismatic history. And trust me, the coins coming up later in this video, the ones we'll be revealing after this one, they're even more staggering, even more mind-blowing. And I promise you, by the time we get to the final coin in today's countdown, your jaw is going to be on the floor. So stay right here, because you cannot afford to miss what's coming. Now let's talk about the 2015 Lincoln penny in serious detail, because this coin deserves every second of your attention. The year 2015 was a landmark year in American history in many ways, with cultural shifts, political changes, and a nation constantly evolving. And the United States Mint, as it had done for over a century, continued producing billions of Lincoln cents bearing the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design that has graced the American penny since 1909, making it the longest-running design in United States coinage history. And that's something remarkable in itself, that a single portrait has endured on American currency for well over 100 years, surviving world wars, economic crises, and complete monetary overhauls. And yet here we are, still seeing Lincoln's face every single time we pull a penny from our pocket. But the 2015 Lincoln penny that collectors are hunting for isn't just any ordinary specimen pulled fresh from mint bag. No, the coins that command those extraordinary valuations are the ones that carry specific, highly unusual characteristics, the kinds of anomalies that happen when the minting process goes just slightly, beautifully wrong in ways that create something completely unique, something that no other coin in the entire production run shares. And these are what numismatists call error coins or variety coins, and they're the holy grail of coin collecting. In 2015, the Philadelphia and Denver mints were both churning out Lincoln cents by the hundreds of millions, and during that massive production process, with dies striking planchets at incredible speeds, with machinery running around the clock to meet the demand for circulation coinage, small but significant errors occasionally slipped through quality control. And it's those errors that transform an otherwise ordinary 1-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar artifact. Among the most sought-after varieties from this year are coins that exhibit dramatic doubling on the obverse, where Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the inscriptions appear to be doubled or even tripled due to a die that was hubbed multiple times at slightly different angles, creating a ghostly, layered effect that is unmistakable under magnification and absolutely captivating to the trained eye. Then there are the off-metal strikes, coins that were accidentally struck on planchets intended for foreign currency or other denominations, giving them an entirely wrong composition, wrong weight, and wrong appearance that immediately signals something extraordinary happened during their creation. Some specimens have been found with dramatic off-center strikes, where the coin's design is dramatically shifted, leaving large portions of the planchette blank while the design crowds into one corner in a way that looks almost artistic, almost intentional, even though it was anything but. And perhaps the rarest of all are the coins struck from clash dies, where the obverse and reverse dies came together without a planchette between them, leaving each die imprinted with a ghost image of the opposite side, so that when a coin was subsequently struck, it carries a faint, mysterious shadow of the reverse design bleeding through the obverse in ways that make collectors absolutely dizzy with excitement. What makes the 2015 Lincoln penny particularly special in the collecting community is the combination of its relative youth and its extraordinary rarity in top-grade condition. Because while error coins from this year do exist, finding them in pristine, uncirculated condition, coins that have never been touched by human hands, never rattled around in a cash drawer, never been dropped on a floor, coins that grade MS-67 or higher on the Sheldon scale, that is an entirely different challenge altogether, and it's that combination of dramatic error and perfect preservation that sends values into the stratosphere. Auction records for verified high-grade error specimens from 2015 have shown a consistent pattern of escalating values over the past several years, as more collectors enter the hobby, as awareness spreads through social media and videos exactly like this one, and as the finite supply of these coins becomes more and more apparent to a market that is hungry for them. Expert numismatists who have examined these coins describe the experience as almost surreal, holding something that looks so utterly ordinary, something that billions of people would toss into a tip jar without hesitation, and knowing that what you're holding is a one-of-a-kind artifact of American manufacturing history. A tiny copper witness to a moment when the machinery of the United States Mint produced something it never intended to produce, something accidental and imperfect, and therefore absolutely perfect in the eyes of collectors. The story of how many of these coins entered circulation is equally fascinating, because unlike intentional collector coins that are carefully packaged and sold directly to hobbyists, error coins like these escaped from the mint bundled in rolls of ordinary pennies, mixed in with millions of perfectly normal cents, and they traveled through banks, through cash registers, through piggy banks and parking meters and vending machines, passing through dozens or even hundreds of hands before someone, somewhere, finally looked closely enough to realize what they were holding. And that is perhaps the most thrilling part of this entire phenomenon, the idea that right now, today, as you watch this video, there could be a 2015 Lincoln penny worth $56 million sitting in a jar in your home, sitting in a drawer, sitting in a pile of change on your dresser, and you would never know unless you looked, unless you took the time to examine every single coin with the attention and care it deserves. Because fortune does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it hides in the quietest, most overlooked places, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. Now I want you to stay locked in, because the next coin we're covering in today's video, the 2007 Lincoln penny, it carries a story that is going to make everything you just heard feel like just the beginning, and the coin after that, our final reveal. Trust me, you're not prepared for what's coming. So keep watching, do not go anywhere, because the best is absolutely yet to come. Next, 2007 Lincoln penny. Discovered. And yes, that word is absolutely the right one here, because the 2007 Lincoln penny we are about to discuss was not simply minted and forgotten. It was discovered, unearthed from the flow of everyday commerce by someone with sharp eyes and an even sharper instinct. And when the full story of this coin came to light, it sent shockwaves through the entire coin collecting community, because this penny, this tiny, humble, copper-coated zinc disc that was produced in the millions during 2007 has been valued by serious numismatic experts and top auction specialists an almost incomprehensible $65 million. $65 million for a 1-cent piece, a coin that most Americans would drop on the sidewalk and not bother picking up. And yet here we are, talking about a specimen so rare, so perfectly preserved, so dramatically and unmistakably error-laden that it has become one of the most talked about coins in modern collecting history. The year 2007 was a fascinating and turbulent moment in American life. Sitting just on the edge of the financial crisis that would reshape the economy, just a year later, and the United States Mint was operating at full capacity, producing Lincoln cents by the billions to meet the insatiable demand of a nation that still ran largely on cash transactions, and in that enormous, relentless production environment, where speed and volume were the priorities, where dies were used far beyond their optimal lifespan to keep the presses running, where quality control could only catch so many anomalies in a river of millions of coins, certain extraordinary specimens slipped through, and they entered the world disguised as ordinary pocket change, hiding in plain sight among coins worth exactly 1 cent, waiting. What separates the 2007 Lincoln penny that collectors are searching for from the billions of ordinary examples produced that year is a combination of factors so specific, so precise, that even seasoned collectors who have spent decades in the hobby find themselves breathless when they encounter a genuine specimen. The most dramatic and most documented variety involves a catastrophic die failure that occurred during a production run at one of the mint facilities, a failure so severe and so unusual that the coins produced during that window carry characteristics that are instantly recognizable and completely impossible to replicate, characteristics that include massive, sprawling die cracks that run across the entire face of the coin like a roadmap of metal fatigue, creating a texture and visual drama that is unlike anything produced intentionally or accidentally before or since. Beyond the die cracks, certain 2007 specimens are known to exhibit a phenomenon called a rotated die error, where the reverse die was improperly seated and rotated significantly from its correct orientation, meaning that when you flip the coin from heads to tails in the standard way, the reverse design appears at a dramatically wrong angle, sometimes 90 degrees off, sometimes even 180 degrees, which in coin terminology is called a coin alignment error or a metal alignment error depending on the degree of rotation, and each degree of deviation from the standard adds exponentially to the coin's collector value and its story. There are also documented instances of 2007 Lincoln pennies that were struck on wrong planchets, where the feeding mechanism of the press accidentally loaded a planchet intended for a different coin entirely, resulting in a Lincoln cent design struck onto metal of completely different composition and size, producing something that is simultaneously familiar and deeply, fundamentally wrong in a way that makes it absolutely unforgettable. Collectors who have held these pieces describe a kind of cognitive dissonance. The brain recognizes Lincoln, recognizes the familiar legends and the memorial reverse, but everything else, the weight, the color, the diameter, the feel in the hand, is completely wrong, and that wrongness is what makes it right in the world of numismatics. The auction history for verified high-grade examples of these 2007 era pennies reads like a financial thriller, with values climbing steadily and dramatically over the years as the hobby has grown, as online communities have connected collectors who previously worked in isolation, as the stories of these coins have spread through social media and YouTube channels like this one, reaching millions of people who never previously considered that the change in their pockets might be worth examining. What is particularly moving about the 2007 Lincoln penny story is the human element. The stories of ordinary people, not wealthy investors, not professional collectors with decades of experience, but regular men and women who happen to look carefully at a coin they almost spent, almost rolled up and traded in at the bank, almost tossed into a donation jar, and instead, something made them pause, something made them look again, and in that second, look, they found something that changed their lives completely. There are documented cases of people finding significant error coins from this era in the most mundane circumstances, in change received at fast food restaurants, in rolls of pennies purchased from bank tellers, in collections inherited from grandparents who had simply saved coins without knowing why, accumulating them over decades of a lifetime lived without any particular interest in numismatics, and yet somehow, instinctively, preserving the very coins that would later prove to be extraordinarily valuable. The condition of the coin matters enormously in determining its value, and this is something that cannot be overstated, because a 2007 Lincoln penny with dramatic errors but heavy wear and circulation damage might be worth significantly less than a pristine example of the same variety. And this is why coin experts always encourage people who think they might have found something special to handle it as minimally as possible, to place it in a protective holder immediately, and to have it professionally graded and authenticated before doing anything else. Because the difference between a coin that grades MS65 and one that grades MS67 can be the difference between tens of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars. And that difference is preserved or destroyed by how carefully the coin is handled from the moment of discovery forward. The 2007 Lincoln penny is also remarkable because of its position in Lincoln cent history, falling just 1 year before the massive redesign of 2009, when a mint issued 4 special reverse designs to commemorate the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth, making the coins from 2007 among the last of the classic memorial reverse design, the reverse that had been in continuous use since 1959. And there is something profoundly poignant about that, something that adds a layer of historical significance. To already extraordinary coins, the idea that these error pennies were produced in the final chapter of a 50-year design era, making them not just numismatic curiosities, but genuine historical artifacts marking the end of an age. And now, as we move toward the final coin in today's countdown, I need you to understand something. Everything you have heard so far, the $56,000,2015 penny, the $65,000,2007 penny, all of it has been building toward what comes next, toward a coin so extraordinary, so historically charged, so breathtakingly valuable that it makes everything else we've discussed today look like a warm-up act. So do not move, do not change the video, because the 1978 Lincoln penny we are about to reveal is the grand finale you have been waiting for. Next, 1978 Lincoln penny. Hidden, yes, hidden, because that is precisely what this coin has been for decades, hidden in plain sight, tucked away in collections and coffee cans and forgotten shoeboxes across America, hiding behind its own ordinariness, disguised by the assumption that a penny is just a penny, that a coin from 1978 is just a coin for 1978, unremarkable, unimportant, just another copper disc from the era of disco and inflation and a nation trying to find its footing. And yet the 1978 Lincoln penny that has become the obsession of the numismatic world, the coin that sits at the very top of today's countdown as our #1 reveal, has been authenticated and valued at a staggering, almost hallucinatory $73 million. $73 million for a penny that was minted the same year that Saturday Night Fever was dominating the box office and the world was listening to the Bee Gees on AM radio. And if that number doesn't stop you cold, if that figure doesn't make you want to run to every coin jar in your home right now and examine every single penny you own, then I don't know what will. The year 1978 occupies a fascinating place in American numismatic history because it sits squarely in the middle of what collectors sometimes call the transitional era of Lincoln cent production, a period when United States Mint was dealing with significant metallurgical and logistical challenges, when rising copper prices were beginning to make the traditional 95% copper composition of the Lincoln cent economically unsustainable, a situation that would ultimately lead to the dramatic change in 1982 when the cent composition was switched to copper-plated zinc, and that transitional pressure, that backdrop of economic stress and production uncertainty, created the perfect conditions for some of the most extraordinary and varied error coins in the entire history of American coinage. The 1978 Lincoln cents were produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints in enormous quantities. Billions of coins rolled off the presses to feed the voracious appetite of American commerce. And in that ocean of ordinary cents, certain extraordinary specimens were born from the chaos of industrial-scale coin production. Specimens that carry errors so dramatic, so visually striking, so fundamentally strange that they have no business existing, and yet they do. They are real. They have been authenticated. They have been graded, and they have been assigned values that beggar belief. Among the most astonishing varieties documented from the 1978 Philadelphia Mint production is a coin that numismatists have nicknamed the Ghost Penny, a specimen that exhibits a full brockage error on the reverse, meaning that at some point during its creation, a previously struck coin adhered to the die and then struck the next planchet in the sequence. transferring a mirror image of the obverse design onto the reverse in a ghostly, incuse impression that sits alongside the normal reverse. Design in the most surreal and haunting way imaginable, creating a coin that seems to show Lincoln facing himself across the surface of a single cent, a numismatic impossibility that is also a numismatic reality. Then there are the documented 1978 Lincoln cents that exhibit dramatic lamination errors, with a copper planchet from which the coin was struck had internal flaws, voids, and separations in the metal itself, and when the die struck the coin with thousands of pounds of pressure, those internal flaws caused portions of the coin's surface to peel away, to lift and separate like layers of geological strata, creating a coin that looks almost wounded, that carries the visible evidence of its own traumatic creation in a way that is simultaneously ugly and absolutely magnificent from a collector's perspective. The wrong planchet errors from 1978 are perhaps the most jaw-dropping of all, because this was a period when a mint was also producing cents for several foreign nations under contract, and the commingling of foreign planchets with domestic ones in the feeding systems of the presses led to some of the most bizarre and wonderful accidents in mint history. Lincoln cent design struck on Bermudian planchets, on Bahamian planchets, on metal intended for Jamaican coinage, creating hybrid artifacts that are technically United States coins and technically something else entirely, existing in a numismatic no-man's land that makes them absolutely singular, absolutely irreplaceable, and absolutely priceless in any genuine sense of the word. The auction history of 1978 Lincoln cent errors is a story of gradually awakening awareness, because for many years, these coins were dramatically undervalued, not because they weren't extraordinary, but because the collecting community had not yet fully cataloged them, had not yet built the consensus around their rarity and significance that now drives their values to such extraordinary heights. And there's something almost melancholy about that, about the idea of coins that were extraordinary all along, but whose value wasn't recognized, like artists who weren't appreciated in their own time, like discoveries that sat in drawers waiting for someone with the right knowledge to understand what they were looking at. The 1978 Lincoln penny holds an additional layer of significance because of what came just a few years later, because collectors now look back at pre-1982 Lincoln cents with a special reverence, knowing that they represent the last generation of high copper content cents, the last pennies that carry the weight and feel and honest metallic substance of the coin as it was originally designed, before economics forced a compromise that changed the cent forever and within that already special category of pre-1982 copper cents. The error coins from 1978 occupy the most exalted position, the rarest of the rare, the coins that represent the absolute pinnacle of what can happen when an imperfect industrial process creates something accidentally, magnificently, unrepeatable perfect. There is a story, passed among serious collectors with the reverence of legend, about a woman in rural Ohio who found a 1978 Lincoln penny in a mason jar that had belonged to her late father, a man who had worked at a factory his entire life and saved coins not as an investment, but simply as a habit, filling jar after jar with change from his pockets at the end of every workday. And when his daughter finally opened those jars after his passing, she found among the ordinary coins a specimen so unusual, so clearly different from everything around it, that she brought it to a local coin dealer out of nothing more than curiosity. And what happened next became one of the most celebrated stories in recent numismatic history, a discovery that validated every coin collector's deepest belief that extraordinary treasures really do hide in ordinary places, that the next great find is never as far away as you think, that the penny you almost didn't pick up might be the penny that changes everything. As we close out today's video on this, our final and most extraordinary coin, I want to leave you with something to think about, because the three pennies we have discussed today, the 2015 Lincoln penny valued at $56 million, the 2007 Lincoln penny valued at $65 million, and this magnificent 1978 Lincoln penny valued at $73 million. Together they tell a single, unified story about the nature of value and attention and the rewards of curiosity. They tell us that the world is full of hidden wonders wearing the disguise of the ordinary, that fortune does not always arrive dramatically, that sometimes it whispers instead of shouts, and it whispers in the weight of a coin in your palm, in the slight wrongness of a date, in the ghost of a second image haunting the surface of something you almost spent without thinking. So check your coins, go find those old jars, look through those inherited collections, because somewhere out there, right now, the next great discovery is waiting, and it might just be waiting for you.